right, we are live. Welcome, everybody. Happy Monday. I hope everybody is doing well and having a great start to this week. If you can hear me okay, please put a 1 in the chat. I'm going to fix my camera just a little bit here. Let's see. I think that's all right. Kind of look like I'm sitting to the right a little bit. Sorry, guys. I usually sit on something and it's... There we go. I'll fix it in a little bit. Anyway, if you can hear me okay, please put a 1 in the chat. And let me just get everything fixed here. So we got some updates regarding the Rachel Morin case. This case, I think I did a video on last year, but I don't think I actually did a live show in depth covering this case. I think when they released the... that door cam footage of the suspect walking out, I think I did a short video, but I don't think I've ever actually covered this case. So if anybody's new to this case, we will cover all the details because this involves an unsolved homicide as well as an assault. Anyway, but welcome for those that are new to the channel. I am Chris with Monsters Under Our Bed. We cover true crime, mystery to the missing. Before we get started, we always like to get back by featuring the missing. So today we have Jans Varilia. We have featured him a couple of times. His family's still out there looking for him. He's 42 when he went missing. He's a tall guy, 6'4", 140 pounds. Brown hazel eye color and salt and pepper hair. There is a reward tendered. He was last seen in Loveland, Colorado, which is close to my state. He went missing on June 1st of 2022, so it's approaching almost 2 years, sadly. He was diagnosed with a brain tumor in May, just a month prior to his disappearance. If you have any information, you can call 720-712-8635. All right, let's get going here. Everybody can hear me good? Awesome. Let's see here. Make sure my chat is popping up. Perfect. All right. Okay, so we will go through the timeline and then get everybody caught up to date. And then there's also a podcast, which is really neat, that a local law enforcement does a podcast. And so apparently there's some interesting details. I've listened to a little bit of it. I had to kind of create the show while kind of listening to it, so I haven't heard everything, but there are some interesting details I don't think have been released until now. I could be wrong on that. But let's get started here, and let me get this situated. Yep, you're not late. We just started. Usually we start on the hour, but somebody else was covering the show, and I wanted to wait for them to finish, and plus I was editing some video. But good to see everybody. All the members and all my wonderful mods who do an amazing job. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask them. So today's show is about Rachel Morin. She was born on May 20th, 1986 in Dover, New Hampshire. At the time of her homicide, she was 37 years old. She lived in Bel Air, Maryland. Sadly, she was a mother of 5 children. At the time between ages 8 and 18. Just before her tragic death, she had a boyfriend named Richard Tobin. She also had her own cleaning business that she ran. She cleaned this one house in particular, Margaret Woltz, for 8 years. Margaret did claim that Rachel seemed distracted by something in the week leading up to her death, although now with all this information came out way before the stuff that happened in Los Angeles, so I don't know if that has any bearing. She loved to walk and hike and went on a particular trail regularly. So on August 1st, her boyfriend, Richard, on his Facebook announced that he and Rachel were in a relationship. This is the boyfriend here, and this is Rachel. In the beginning, like I said before, everything else came out. Richard did have a rocky criminal past, including assault, drug possession, restraining order violation, and much more, but claims to be a changed man and changed his life around and works on a healthy lifestyle. Then we go to the incident on Saturday, Saturday, August 5th of 2023. Rachel, let me get that straightened out. Rachel goes for a walk at the Ma and Pa Trailhead at Bel Air, Maryland. Rachel went by herself around 6 p.m. There is parking at the trailhead, and this is where I believe she parked her car. Here's a picture, and we'll look at the map as well, but it's a trail that kind of goes through kind of a residential and then goes under an interstate. It doesn't seem to be like a big trail. It is very heavily wooded for the area that it's in, but you would think it'd be pretty safe. And we'll see the trail as well as we have video of it. And there was others at that time apparently walking the trail and may have witnessed Rachel walking at some point. So she arrived at that trail around 6 p.m. Was only supposed to be there for, I'm not sure, maybe an hour or so. She did not return home. Her boyfriend Richard reported Rachel missing that same night, just before midnight. And so here's just a overhead look at the trail here. And like I said, it's a pretty, it's not big, but here's kind of one end of the trailhead here. And I believe this is where she parked. Let me know. I know there's a lot of people in here that probably know this case better than I, because this is the first time deep diving it. But I believe she parked her car over on this end. But the trailhead here, I got marked in green. And it does kind of split off here, but it does kind of go and wraps around, and then it looks like it finishes around here where there's like a dog park, which is also called the Ma and Pa Dog Park, which is pictured here. So here's the picture of the trailhead here, which we got some, I don't know if that's apartments or condos there. And then this is the picture of what appears to be the end of the trailhead, or the end of the trail. So early days in the investigation, actually, let me skip forward before we go to that. So she had been missing, according to the boyfriend. He wrote in a post, she had been missing since 7 p.m. She went on a hike, and me and the kids had been trying to find her since 9 p.m. And then he deleted that Facebook post. They also posted on the Hartford County Sheriff's Office that they are aware of potential witnesses that may have observed Rachel on that day. These individuals were walking the Ma and Pa Trail around the tunnel where it splits the trail that leads to William Street between 6 and 7:30 p.m. These witnesses were described as either being 3 men, 2 women, and 2 dogs, or 2 men, 3 women, and 2 dogs. And then we move on to Sunday, the next day, August 6th. And sadly, around 1 p.m., a man named Michael, and I'm probably butcher his name, so I'll just say Michael G., he joined the search along with his daughter, but I believe it's stepdaughter. Correct me if I believe that's, because originally that's what it's just stated in the article that I found, who was friends with Rachel. The two and one of his daughter's friends discovered the worst. They found her body in a drain. According to Michael, he was quoted, he said, "I kept telling them to search the tunnels because I had a feeling about those tunnels. I walked forward to search one tunnel, and they searched They searched the one, and that's where they found her. So it wasn't him that actually found Rachel's body, it was the others. Her car was also located nearby the trailhead. She had been sadly murdered, and the exact details have not been released due to an open investigation. Although he would do an interview claiming some of her injuries. We don't know all the facts, but it sounds pretty gruesome. We'll just kind of go over the general specifics of it, and I'll get to chat here in just a second. He said even though he did not find the body, he gave an interview with details regarding how Rachel was found and her condition. He reportedly saying, and this is generalized, she was naked, lying on her back with a blood trail 15 to 20 feet. It looked like her face had been smashed in with a rock. Her injuries were very horrific. At the same time, many started to suspect Michael as well, as he seemed to insert himself into the investigation. He did not find the body, yet he told others he knew sensitive information. So let me get to chat here because we got a lot going on, and then we'll get up to the other details. Let's see here. And we got 156. If you could, please hit that like button. It really helps this channel. Good evening, Chris and chat. Good to see you, Tiffany. Eyes on Heaven, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. You are so awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see. I'm just looking at chat. Miranda Lee, good to see you. Happy Mobversary. Member for 10 months now. Thank you so much for renewing the membership. You are so awesome, Miranda. Sensei, 14 joyous months with you guys. Chris, your foot okay? Yes, it's been kind of back and forth, but more better days than bad days. I'll just say that. So, but thank you so much, Sensei. Just dealing with some neuropathy with my feet. Kind of skipping ahead, Paul. They have his DNA, understand? Yes, and that's kind of skipping ahead, but yeah, we will. Actually, that's kind of my next thing here in just a minute. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Miss Dog Lover, good to see you. With that haircut, this guy is military. Oh, yes. Yes, speaking of the actual suspect. He could be anywhere in this world right now. Yeah, we're going to listening to, so if you're just coming in, you haven't missed much. We're just recapping the story for anybody that's not familiar with Rachel Morin. But yes, they did a podcast, which is really neat, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But they talk about kind of how they got his DNA. And then I believe they kind of go in some details. And then I think they kind of talk about some of the places they believe he may be as well. Mommy of 5, I used to walk this trail 3 times a week until this happened. I can always go there for you and record the trail if needed. Oh, that is awesome, Mommy of 5. I really appreciate that. But I'd rather you be safe. I know that they talk about the trailhead kind of died down after that incident. But it's certainly not necessary. But if you ever out there and you do get anything and you'd like to share, I'd be more than happy if we covered this again to share the footage. But it's certainly not necessary. But I am humble for your for the opportunity. That's truly amazing. So anyway, so we talked about the condition that she was found in. And I just wanted to talk about this just a little bit, even though this has no bearing. But it was just part of the case in the beginning. A lot of people thought Richard was involved just because he had a really rocky past that we kind of talked about earlier. He had, here's just a couple of them: criminal second-degree assault, destruction of property, possession, violating restraining orders, but he said that he'd been 15 months clean and has been a changed person. But just thought I'd add that in because that was kind of part of the narrative in the beginning. And then, of course, this guy, Michael, was, a lot of people kind of looked at him kind of sketchy because, there are some that insert themselves into investigations. So, sadly, with her death and her body being found on August 6th, then, so 17, so 11 days later, after they found her body, another incident happened, literally on all the way across this United States. So here was Bel Air, and literally 2,600 miles away in Los Angeles. So this suspect traveled. So this suspect had left some DNA at the crime scene of Rachel Morin. And then there was an incident that happened, I believe, on August 17th. So on August 17th, Corporal Davis told reporters that DNA found at the Morin crime scene had been analyzed by Maryland State Police and entered into the CODA system, where it matched evidence collected from a March home invasion in Los Angeles. Oh, that's right. Okay, so they released this on 17th. So actually, this was something prior. My apologies. I forgot about that. So it seems like this guy traveled from Los Angeles to there. And in March, there was a home invasion where a young girl was assaulted. They had not yet identified the suspect. Davis said at a news conference, they believe the figure seen on the doorbell cam footage obtained by LAPD from the house where the alleged assault occurred is their guy, their suspect. So far, he explained the DNA hadn't shown up on any other law enforcement database prior arrest, and they were working with experts from the FBI crime lab to further analyze the sample. So, so this was released on August 17th, but this incident happened in March. And then today they released the sketch of the guy. And then we're going to watch a video and then listen to the podcast, which is very interesting. But the Hartford County released a new sketch that they believe is the suspect related to Rachel Morin's case and the case that happened in March. He's believed to be in his 20s or 30s, Hispanic male. I believe he left behind a red Jordan's cap and a water bottle that contained his DNA. And obviously, we will learn more details in this podcast here. Rachel Morin. So here is that video if anybody hasn't seen it, and then we'll listen to the new podcast. And then while the podcast is playing, I've got interviews which show kind of the scenes of Ma and Pa Trailhead.
Morin went for a hike Saturday afternoon, but 24 hours later, she was found murdered. Rachel's sister says she did not go willingly and that her death was not accidental.
Based on the DNA evidence, we consider the individual in the video we obtained from the Los Angeles Police Department and that we are about to show you on our TV screens to be the person that murdered Rachel Morin on August 5th.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody, where we cover true crime, mystery to the missing. Rachel Morin, a 37-year-old mother of 5, set out. So if you're just tuning in, here's just another quick recap of everything, and then we're going to play that video if you haven't seen it, and then we'll listen to the podcast. To hike a trail in Bel Air, which is 20 miles east of Baltimore. Rachel had left her car at the Ma and Pa Trailhead. Later that day, after not returning from her hike, her boyfriend called the police to file a report. That next day, they sadly found Rachel's body near the trail, who had been naked and severely beaten to death. Nearly 2 weeks with no major leads, the Hartford County PD held a press conference where they released some bombshell information. Apparently, whoever attacked and killed Rachel in August left behind DNA. This same DNA was a match to a previous crime across the country in California back in March, where a young girl was assaulted.
So we collected DNA from our crime scene. The Maryland State Police analyzed that DNA for us, ran it through the National CODIS system, and that came back as a match to the crime that occurred in Los Angeles, where they had recovered DNA from this person that you saw in the video.
Although they don't have a positive ID on the suspect, they did obtain surveillance video, which shows the suspect, and I'm going to play that now. Oh, wow. So here's the video that was released August 17th. And this happened in March. I apologize. I thought this was happened because, like I said, I never deep dived this case. But I did do a short video on this because I wanted to break down this footage just to see if we could see any details. Notice there are some key items that should be pointed out that the suspect has. Here you can see he has a small chain necklace. Also, it appears he has some kind of cell phone or device with the light on. But there is something on his right hand side near his belt, which I can't quite tell if... Now, we figured this out. Obviously, this footage just came out when I made this video. I mean, it was released the day of when I made this. Now, after looking at it multiple times, it's actually, he has his shoes in his hand. He's got his either shirt or hoodie or whatever in his left hand, as well as he's cupping his shoes. Because I think he walks out you can see he's walking out barefoot. At the time, I thought it was something else. Is this a cell phone case? Or is this a gun with the handle sticking out? But that's actually his shoes. This guy Nike is supposedly 5'9", 160 pounds, short, darker hair, and appears to be of Hispanic race. If you have any information. And you can actually kind of see one of the shoes kind of poking out right there as well. Please call the Hartford County.
Ask Andy just we're gonna get started here and just.
So here is the podcast. So if you're just joining in, I think this is really awesome that this local law enforcement has got their own podcast. And let me just pull it up to show you guys real quick, and then we'll listen to it. Actually, I can just play it while we're listening to it.
Maybe a little bit of recap, although I think the whole world knows Rachel's story. We know there's people out there who still need to be caught up. So a little bit about what happened 6 months ago.
Yes, sir. So the sheriff's office began this investigation when we received a phone call about a missing mother, that she had gone for a run that evening and she didn't return. Her children, who were younger children, one of them a teenager and the other one
interesting.
Under that age, were left at home, and that wasn't like her. She normally would leave for a run in the evenings and be home within 45 minutes. So when she didn't return, a friend of hers called the sheriff's office and said that they were concerned for her well-being and they didn't know where she was. The sheriff's office, of course, started looking right away and tried to find Miss Morin, and what they located right away was Rachel's vehicle at a trailhead along a popular trail here in Hartford County called the Ma and Pa Trail. At this point, it was probably about later evening, 10 o'clock in the evening, and it was concerning that her vehicle would still be there because although she frequently ran that trail, she would not have been there that late into the evening. So that began a large-scale search through the Ma and Pa Trail and the surrounding area, which ultimately, unfortunately, led to the discovery the following morning of Rachel's remains.
And I remember that day, obviously, very vividly. We had 2 missing person cases going simultaneously. One that there was some concern, or at least community concern that they could be related, and we knew from the information we had that certainly they were 2 distinct situations. One resolved later, fine for everyone involved, and sadly, Rachel's case resulted in the discovery of her body. So I think just a little bit.
Yeah, we'll definitely we'll get to the end because the video's not that long. I can pull up my program if you guys want. We could slow it down if there's anything like tattoo or facial hair, because it's been a while and I didn't break it down really as much as I normally do with other videos. Who knows what clues we could see.
Go ahead into the steps after the discovery.
So when Rachel's remains were located, the Ma and Pa Trail, if anybody's not familiar, is a large trail that runs through, like I said, about a 7-mile section of Hartford County. This particular portion of the trail is well graded and open. Along the side of this trail, there are two large drainage culverts that run under a local highway. Those drainage culverts are hidden during the summertime by trees and shrubbery, and aren't something that most people would see. I myself have been down that trail many times, and I wasn't aware that those culverts.
And he just kind of walked out what they're talking about right here. I'll just back it up just a little bit, but this is sadly the tunnel culvert that they're talking about.
Drainage culverts that run under a local highway. Those drainage culverts are hidden during the summertime by trees and shrubbery, and aren't something that most people would see. I myself have been down that trail many times.
I think they'll talk
I
about
wasn't
it
aware
here in
that
the
those culverts were
podcast.
there. In this instance, we could see from the scene that Rachel was ultimately attacked on the trail. That area of the trail, there is a bend in the trail that most likely was used by the individual who committed this crime, who attacked Rachel on the trail, pulled her through the wooded area into this drainage culvert where she ultimately lost her life.
And this is a little bit of information we've kind of held close to the chest, if you will, that we haven't released as far as what the actual location of the homicide was. So we are, again, as we hit the 6-month mark, looking back at everything that we've done, some of the information that we've been less than, a little leery about releasing, too many details. So this is something new. A lot of people ask me routinely, is that where this homicide occurred? And kind of everyone's familiar with who's familiar with the trail. Everyone local is familiar with the hiking trail that goes underneath of Route 24. Mm-hmm. These drainage tunnels are north of that a short distance, but as you said, in the summer particularly, you can't really make them out.
No, they're I would say they're not intentionally, but they are hidden by shrubbery and growth, and a lot of people within the community, I don't believe, are aware that they're there. It's not something that the average person would notice. So it obviously the location of the attack was chosen, I think, most likely for because those culverts were as close as they were, and they provided an area for this person to try to commit this crime and not be seen by members of the public.
At that hour of the day, on this particular day, is that trail well used?
This portion of the trail is well used during this time of the day. In fact, we've spoken to a number of witnesses who have been able to tell us that not only did they see Rachel that day, but they saw Rachel almost every day at the same time on the trail, walking and running and exercising in the same area. This person obviously took the time to be familiar with the area because he was familiar with the culverts we spoke of, and he was also most likely or potentially familiar with Rachel, who had a time of day she liked to run, and this individual took an opportunity when Rachel, unfortunately, from the witnesses we spoke to, was briefly out of view of anyone else for a short period of time.
And I've been asked that in many interviews over the last 6 months. Do we think that she was stalked, or do we think that this was a completely random act? And I've been doing, police work 40 years. Major Simpson's on par with me, and you're just slightly behind that. So a lot of police experience in the room. My gut tells me she was stalked. But until we catch this person, I also, have been putting out there, that the fact that it could have just been a crime of opportunity. He could have laid in wait on that trail for Rachel or whichever female decided to come down that trail at a time when there were no other people in sight. More or less a crime of opportunity. So really, that's kind of what we have said so far. We don't have information. We've developed no information to say she was specifically targeted.
We have developed no information, sir, that says that she was specifically targeted. However, in interviewing witnesses and speaking to people on the trail at that time, it would appear that there was an individual who was standing within the wood line in an area that's slightly elevated immediately around the time of this assault. And I would agree with you, sir, that I don't know that Rachel was specifically targeted, but I do believe that that area was chosen as an area that they wanted to assault someone.
Right. That's
It's kind of creepy hearing about the trail. Kind of reminds me a little bit about, the Delphi case, just because possibly the advantage that a person could be overlooking the victim and stalking them. And you would think that they would be know this trail and had been there. And hopefully they've gotten as many witnesses that they can to recall days prior to this event that maybe somebody looks familiar to this now sketch that they have released. That could be really huge. And throughout this, I will show the sketch for those that are tuning in. It looks like we have at least a couple locals out there. It's a mother of five said she's been on that trail. And I hope if you do go on that trail, be safe. Cindy Goddard, wish I could give more, but thank you so much, Chris, for all your hard work and bringing attention to finding and seeking justice for missing and deceased. Thank you so much, Cindy. That means the world. If you are new to the channel, we do more than just cover cases. During the summertime, spring, summertime, and fall, we go out and search for missing people. Just like if Rachel was, still missing, if it was somewhere that was close to me, I would be out there looking for her. But we do have cases coming up this year that we're going to be involved in. But thank you so much, Cindy, as every little bit does help. Really appreciate that.
kind of the distinction we've made. I believe, in my heart, that someone picked her, specifically her, but we until we have him in custody and we can say that 100%, it could have been likely he just picked the location, and Rachel was the unfortunate person who was there at that time.
That's correct, sir.
So go ahead from there with kind of recapping.
Rachel, as I said, was located on the trail that day inside that culvert, and that began a long process with the sheriff's office and our forensic services unit, processing the crime scene and attempting to recover any type of evidence we could that could link the suspect, in this case, to the scene. That process took us the remainder of that day and into the following days as well. After the scene was processed, a search began which is continuing to this day, a search began for witnesses who were in the area, who could describe what they saw, who was in the area, and anything else that would help us lead to the suspect in this case. As we were processing the scene and what moves happened in the days following, in processing the scene, we recovered genetic material that we were able to use through the Maryland State Police Crime Lab to attempt to identify the suspect. That genetic material ultimately was entered into a system called CODIS, which is a national DNA database. CODIS contains not only known offenders, but it also contains DNA samples from other unsolved crimes with unknown suspects. In this case, CODIS was a huge break for us. And what we were able to do with that database was link this crime to another unsolved crime in the state of California, in Los Angeles specifically, which was a home invasion, is how I would describe it right now.
Which is just absolutely amazing that they were able to do that so fast. I mean, because it seems like August, even though it happened in March, this incident here in Los Angeles, so you got April, May, June, July, so 4 or 5 months. But obviously they needed two different sources of DNA to compare to one, and they did that from August 6th. They were able to take those two incidents and have something by August 17th or somewhere around in there. So that's pretty amazing.
In that instance, that suspect left behind a hat, and that hat was collected by the Los Angeles Police Department, and DNA was located on that hat, and that DNA was entered into CODIS, When we entered our sample in from our crime scene, those two matched. So that allowed us ultimately to be able to recover video evidence.
So they're kind of explaining it right now, Karen. Now I don't know, and I'm sure if anybody in the chat, because like I said, it's my first deep dive on this, so I may get some things wrong. Please correct me if I do. But so this incident that we're looking at on screen right now happened in March of 2023, last year, somewhere in L.A., California, and this woman was, they say, assaulted. I'm assuming, SA'd, which is really weird because you see somebody shut the door, for him. But anyway, whatever, he left DNA, and I think they'll talk about it here in a bit. I want to say he left a hat and a water bottle, and I think the water bottle had the DNA. I believe. I could be wrong. I do recall seeing that. So DNA from this crime that happened in March that we're looking at, because this is door cam footage. Then you skip obviously 5 months later, so they have a DNA source, but maybe this guy hasn't been arrested before, so he's not in the database. And then with the Rachel Morin case, which we skipped into August 5th, where she's attacked and sadly brutally murdered, there's DNA that's left at that crime scene. And then so they take the two scenes, the two DNA sources from both those scenes, and then they put them back in the CODA space and find out that, hey, these are related. So then that's why they released this footage to hopefully, maybe this will spark someone's memory of maybe seeing this guy coming out, or anybody that maybe knows this victim, although that's been kind of hush-hush. And then I wonder, I believe they'll talk about how the sketch was released. I'm assuming maybe by this person that was assaulted. That would be my guess, but I don't know 100%.
By the Los Angeles Police Department, and DNA was located on that hat, and that DNA was entered into CODIS. When we entered our sample in from our crime scene, those two matched. So that allowed us ultimately to be able to recover video evidence that showed us who our suspect was, which we hadn't seen, and allowed us to link two crimes that occurred on opposite sides of the country.
Yeah,
and I do believe that's another specific piece of information that we've kind of not been, that we have not released previously, as far as it being a hat that did we release that before? That we
have publicly commented on that. Yes.
Okay, and I knew that the public knew that we had recovered DNA, or I should say, Los Angeles Police Department recovered DNA that matched to our crime scene here. But I wasn't sure that what the tool was, or what the item was that was left behind by the suspect. So going to that case, and it was in March, so it was basically 6 months earlier than Rachel's case, or 5 months earlier. The case in L.A., and it caused me to think, and this is a question I've got a lot, what brought the suspect here? And I've been clear that we really have no information to say that the suspect lives there and came here, or that the suspect, very well, the suspect could live out here and have traveled out there in March. We know he was there in March. We know he was here in August. We don't know where he is in between.
That's correct, sir. We know.
So Denise Baker says no SA attempted, got thrown out. Interesting. I haven't heard that, and you may be right. That's, they said like assaulted, and I think when we hear that in a female, I think our minds tend to go to SA. So maybe is it just an assault that happened? I don't know. Maybe they'll clarify it. Like I said, I didn't get to listen to this whole podcast because I was kind of putting. Excuse me, I just swallowed and it went down the wrong throat. I'm so sorry. And then I lost my train of thought. But yeah, those details are very. Yeah, there's not a lot of details as far as that the March incident. That's for sure.
Know that through the course of the investigation, which is in a unique situation when we have two violent attacks that happen on opposite sides of the
That's
country
right.
within a 6-month period. We're, of course, interested about what other crimes could have occurred throughout the country, throughout the state of California, state of Maryland, and everywhere in between. We have nothing right now that would indicate yet that there's been other crimes this individual
He could be.
perpetrated in between. However, he could be, as you said, sir, a resident of the state of Maryland who went to California, or a resident of the state of California who came here, or he could be a resident of another state and just traveled in between those two. Until we locate him, we really won't know.
Yeah. Hopefully, with this two incidents and it being across state, almost on the other side of the, United States, maybe there's family members, there's some kind of tie of friends or family members of this suspect that will hopefully maybe give them some leads. I also saw something else here I wanted to pull up. Where'd it go? Rose brings up a great statement. Recently watched another YouTuber who was reporting on this and many other missing women. Mother of similar ages up and down the East Coast. I believe she was the first of these possible serial killer. Definitely. And that's scary to think about. But yeah, that's definitely a possibility. Mommy of 5. I also feel like if they had video of him leaving the house, why didn't they show him entering? Ooh, what a great statement. Yeah, that's such a great statement. Maybe there was some circumstances where he came in from another entry point from that home, and we only see him leaving because he entered through maybe something else, and that could relate to maybe a burglary or just an assault, not an SA, but just an assault burglary type situation. So maybe that's why there is no video of him coming in, or he could have been covering his face. Just some ideas coming to mind, but I really appreciate Mommy of 5. Clearly a local out there. I do appreciate the insight.
Okay, and I know we've also, that case out there, I get that. Can you tell us more about what happened in Los Angeles? And I know that is not our investigation, and we certainly cannot speak on behalf of the Los Angeles Police Department, but as you said earlier, that's an active investigation by that police department. So we've been, I guess, limited in what we are going to say or should say, since another police department has a serious crime that they are also investigating. But what can you share? Obviously, the video came from there. What else can you share about that scene out there?
I think I can share the fact that, yes, this case is actively investigated by the Los Angeles Police Department, who did initially recover that hat, which was an excellent find and enabled us to be able to link these two crimes together. That crime that occurred there was also a violent attack. There's nothing that we know right now that would point us to the belief that it was anything other than a random attack. There were multiple people within that home who were injured, and there were minor children.
So
did initially recover that.
All right, so they're talking about this. I believe the home invasion. This is interesting. So, like I said, I haven't deep dived this case, so a lot of this stuff's new to me. But it sounds like they're talking about this incident. So let's see, because I see people commenting, which sounds like what they're just repeating or explaining right now.
Maryland, who went to California, or a resident of the state of California who came here, or he could be a resident of another state and just traveled in between those two. Until we locate him, we really won't know.
Okay, and I know we've also, that case out there, I get that. Can you tell us more about what happened in Los Angeles?
Okay, so yeah, he's asking, all right, what happened there in Los Angeles?
And I know that is not our investigation, and we certainly cannot speak on behalf of the Los Angeles Police Department, but as you said earlier, that's an active investigation by that police department. So we've been, I guess, limited in what we are going to say or should say, since another police department has a serious crime that they are also investigating. But what can you share? Obviously, the video came from there. What else can you share about that scene out there?
I think I can share the fact that, yes, this case is actively investigated by the Los Angeles Police Department, who who did initially recover that hat, which was an excellent find and enabled us to be able to link these two crimes together.
Okay, so definitely the hat was located at the house in Los Angeles. I'm just going to write that down just to confirm that. Okay.
That crime that occurred there was also a violent attack. There's nothing that we know right now that would point us to the belief that it was anything other than a random attack. There were multiple people within that home who were...
So multiple people in the home. Sorry if I'm regurgitating some stuff. I see people kind of mentioning that. I apologize. I just want to write these details because these are kind of new details, at least for me.
Injured, and there were minor children who were injured as well in that attack.
Children injured. So multiple people injured, including children, in this assault in Los Angeles. People injured, including children. Wow.
I think that case, along with this case, highlight how dangerous this individual is and how important it is to locate him for public safety.
To be clear, the DNA that was collected from the crime scene in L.A. Was that of an unnamed, as of yet unnamed suspect.
That's correct, sir. The CODIS database does contain known offenders. I'm sure a lot of people are aware that people convicted of certain qualifying crimes provide a DNA sample that's entered into CODIS. But CODIS contains also...
Wow. I mean, just kind of thinking about this. This is a dangerous guy. The fact that he's not... Multiple people in his house, probably a family, with children, plural, children, and they're injured in some way. This is scary.
Standards from unknown crime scenes. And this is an instance where we collected DNA, or the Los Angeles Police Department collected DNA with an unknown suspect. But there's value to that, whether the suspect is known or not, because it allows us to link crimes together as we did in this situation.
Okay. So go on a little bit with what we can discuss from that crime scene in Los Angeles.
Okay, so they're going to go more into the crime in Los Angeles.
Is there more that we can speak about?
I think we could say that I think people who have seen the video we released, which is obviously from Los Angeles. This individual approached a residence in the city of Los Angeles and entered that residence. He didn't live there. He was not known to the residents. And after entering the home, I don't want to get into a whole lot of details other than to say that he violently and physically attacked multiple people, to include a child, that were hurt during that incident. And that, again, I think it just goes to the dangerousness and the need for us to be able to track this person down before he harms someone else.
Sure, and this is something else I get a lot of questions about and have spoken about, the escalation from what happened there in March. Again, we don't know whether he's there, where he might lay his head at night, but we do know from March till August.
God, it's so weird just to see how he's kind of just coming out of the house nonchalant, and now knowing what just took place prior to him exiting that multiple people were hurt, including children or a child. I mean, just adds that deeper level of just how dangerous this guy is. But it's so weird when you see this video because it looks so nonchalant. You got somebody shutting the door. You wouldn't have guessed, just if you saw this without knowing all that other information, you wouldn't have guessed that. I mean,
he certainly escalated in violence and moving from assault, even serious, but to taking a life. The other questions I get related to Los Angeles and the cameras themselves are kind of twofold, and maybe I'll throw them both out there and see what you say. Because one is we have the video footage of the Ring doorbell camera of him departing, and the manner in which he departs, which does not seem in in most people's views to be the way that someone found in your home illegally assaulting people would be exiting a residence. And if we have him going out, why don't we have him coming in? And when I say we, it's again, that's the Los Angeles crime scene.
Yes, sir. The reason you can't see him entering the home is because the doorbell camera, obviously, like we all have these doorbell cameras now in modern society, are only placed on generally the area of the front door. Without going into how this gentleman entered the home or the suspect entered the home, he did not enter through the front door and would.
Well, yeah, we kind of guessed that. That's what we just kind of speculated. Mommy and Five brought up, I think it was Mommy and Five brought up that question, why isn't there him walking in? But as I kind of speculated, and others, and I know somebody already may have already heard this podcast. Like I said, a lot of this is new. I only heard tidbits, but so clearly he entered from a different side, which did not have a camera, which is too bad because it's too bad we didn't get a camera that showed his face, the front.
Have been captured by the doorbell camera. As far as the manner in which he exited the house, we've received comments through tip lines about that too. And I think we all have to take a step back sometimes and realize that this person entered a home. He, in the middle of the night, violently attacked a family, and that family reacted. They were scared. There was a lot of yelling going around at the time, and they forced him from the home. I think people oftentimes believe that this family should have held this person there, or they should have, in some way tried to stop him. And I think that's not always possible, and that this attack was stopped by a member of that family.
Especially if there was children. I mean, they're just trying to get him out without it escalating. That makes sense, especially with children.
Who I think acted in the best interest of everyone there and did everything that he could do to get that person out of the home. And ultimately, I think, although he did escalate his crime, as we were just saying, between here in Maryland and in California, I think had that crime not been interrupted in California, it most likely would have ended the exact same way our crime ended here.
That's a very good point. And I agree with that from what I know of the case. Talk to me about the arm, the infamous.
It sounds to me like maybe there was a female that he was stalking in this, that lived at this house, and he was going to do something terrible, but did not know that there was a family there, luckily to stop and avert what could have been something more absolutely tragic. And yes, I guess it's a blessing in disguise that it did not escalate.
Arm, because that's something that so many of our social media followers have commented on, the arm in the video.
The arm in the video is the suspect, when he's in the home, winds up assaulting two family members who were unable to defend themselves. A third family member, who is a younger person, enters that room and manages to surprise the suspect and begin to force him out of the home.
Wow.
As the suspect flees the home, this individual, who is frightened and is scared and is a younger person and doesn't understand why someone's in his home attacking his family members, the suspect, other people in the home begin to wake up. And he realizes now that there's multiple people in the home. They're yelling at him. He's trying to just exit the home. So as soon as he leaves the door, that younger person who actually interrupted the crime scene slams the door shut and locks it, and then immediately calls the police. So again, we've heard this a lot too, and I understand people are trying to help, but it's a difficult situation that young man went through, and I think he did everything he could to try to protect his family, and he just wanted the suspect out of his home. And then as soon as he left, locked the door and called the police for assistance.
So obviously that's how we tie to Los Angeles and to the video that we were able to release.
Yeah.
And again, we had a press conference releasing that video as soon as it came into our possession, to make sure that the public knew what to be on the lookout for, and in hopes of identifying this individual. And here we are 6 months in, and we still haven't been able to get a name. And I believe somebody out there is going to see that video and recognize that person, and we just need to make sure it stays in the public eye to the best we can. But how many tips related to this case would you say you and your investigators have followed up on? And I get the question, has this turned to a cold case at this point?
This case absolutely is not turned into a cold case, sir. It's being actively investigated every day. We were actually just today conducting interviews in this case. We've received well over 1,000 tips, and every one of those tips is followed up on.
So it's certainly not a cold case, obviously, with the recent, and I'm sure they're going to get to the sketch. I'm sure that the sketch that they're going to talk about.
To ensure that nothing's missed. Then they've come in from all across the country.
And where do you follow these tips? As far as, can you outline a few of the tips that are the types of tips that you've received?
Sure, we'll receive tips from people who, from the very generic, from people who tell us that I was in a grocery store, or I was at some other local business, and I believe I saw somebody who matches the description. People who call us to tell us that they live in a different state, but they believe this individual resides in their community, whether it be an apartment community or whether it be a...
Well, I think, as we've learned covering true crime for a long time, of course, more the public knows in some circumstances, it helps to, may identify the suspect, but at the same time, there's certain clues and incidences that happen within that house that only the victims and the suspect know. So when they go in to bring in what it would be a potential suspect, and they start interrogating him, and then he says, oh, well, I came in through the front door and I tried this and that, then they'll know. They're like, well, no, we know that this is not true. This guy entered through a different way. And so, as always, that's just kind of a something that is known that, too much information, is not a good thing, for the public. But I think they're being pretty generic with their answers, and it is painting a broader picture of what happened there in March.
Residential home. People who tell us that they have family members who they believe could have been involved and where those people live. And really, it runs the gamut of people who I think, see this story, realize how tragic it is that Rachel, a single mother, lost her life, and they want to reach out and try to help. And it's been great. And every one of those tips, we'll take every tip we can, and we try to run them down to the ground. And I agree with you, sir, that we know through the course of the investigation this individual was here in Harford County, most likely for a couple of weeks prior, several weeks prior to this happening. And I agree that there are people here in our community who know who he is. He resided with somebody when he was here.
Yeah, that's a huge detail. I mean, clearly he just didn't travel across the country without some kind of friends or family member that he could stay with. So hopefully, I feel like this case is going to be solvable. But man, is there more that this guy has done? And people have speculated in the chat, and I would not be surprised. This guy's a dangerous guy.
He ate at local stores. He had a home, and there are people who know who he is. And what we really need is those people to realize that this is a dangerous individual, and they really need to step up for the community and identify who he is. And
this would probably be a good time to point out that the reward on giving us that piece of information currently stands at $35,000 to give us information that identifies that subject and helps us make an arrest in this case.
Yes, sir, that's true.
And you did speak about the family, and I know from speaking to you, from speaking to the major, and even meeting with the family members before a canvas that some of your people did back right before Christmas.
Yes, sir.
That we've been working with the family. Obviously, as you said, we have Rachel, the mother of 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
A young mom, a sister, a daughter. This has really impacted very close family. And then it's hit our community because we live in a very safe place, so it's hit our community as well. But how are we working with the family on trying to solve this case?
We speak with Rachel's family frequently, and I would agree with you, sir, that Rachel was a mother, she was a daughter, she was a friend to many people, She was a part of this community. She was raised here. She lived here her entire life. And it was devastating to her family. Her children don't have a mother now. She has children under the age of 18 now. She has a child who unfortunately is disabled, that now has to cope with not only a disability, but the loss of their mother at a young age. Her Rachel's mother is obviously devastated at the loss of her daughter. Her oldest daughter, who's turned 18, was 18 at the time of this, now has to try to navigate the beginning part of her adult life without a mother. So it affected everybody.
Yeah, from what I understand, because I think she had like, she has 5 kids, and there's 3 dads in that scenario. And from what I understand, early on in the investigation, that all the kids are with the biological fathers. So that's great. But I can't imagine what they're going through.
In Rachel's life, and she had a wide circle of friends, and of course all of them are affected. And to your point, sir, too, we do live in a safe community, and it definitely upsets everybody, and it takes a little bit of that sense of safety away when something like this happens.
And people ask about that all the time, the hiking trail, and we were just asked today, in fact, on an interview, are there cameras on the trail? And particularly somebody saw what they believed is a camera in the pedestrian tunnel going underneath Route 24. To my knowledge, I know that the county's working to put cameras along the trail because of Rachel's case, but there were not cameras there, and I don't believe there's one in the tunnel.
No, sir. There's no tunnels on the trail itself. I mean, no tunnels. There's no cameras on the tunnel itself, on the trail itself, and the cameras in the surrounding area that we captured the arrival of Rachel into the parking lot. We know where she was beforehand, shopping at a local Target store. We have video of that. We certainly used video in this case to be able to track Rachel's movements in the time leading up to this and to her arrival at the trail. Unfortunately, after Rachel arrives and parks her car at the parking lot at the trailhead, there's no more video evidence after that.
All right, and that might seem, I don't know, outlandish in some parts of our country, but I have to say, my backyard hits a portion of this trail, and we've lived there for more than 20 years, 22, 23. My
Oh, wow.
daughters were raised going out there to be able to walk on the trail, my wife, me, and it's
Yeah, it's so weird to see how this transpired.
so far outside the norm. I don't think many communities can understand just how, what kind of feeling of safety there was prior to this case. Obviously, this woke everybody up a little bit that we're, as law enforcement will preach, it can happen here, and the worst things can happen here, and we saw that again in this case, sadly. We talked about a little bit about working with the family, and how about other agencies? Obviously, this is a big case, going from one side of the country to the other. How about other partners?
Yes, sir. We've used multiple partners in this case, and we still do on a daily basis. The Maryland State Police Crime Lab has been an integral partner on this, and has helped us with the initial genetic links we made, but as we continue moving forward with the case, has helped us with further processing of evidence. We've used federal partners to help us reach out across the country to different places to conduct interviews, to give us assistance, again, with evidence processing and directions to take the case. We've used other local departments across the country when we needed to be able to conduct interviews and be able to.
Yeah, it kind of looks right here. We can kind of see. It's tough to say because, you could get shadows would appear to look like he's almost got this close shave, a little bit of fuzz, hair going down.
Understand where potential suspects reside and crime.
That where he could lead to like a light beard.
Crimes may have committed in the past. We've used laboratories from multiple states through the country to help so they can assist us try to track the suspect as well. So we've received a tremendous amount of support from agencies throughout the country.
How has the community responded to your efforts during the canvases? What's the response that the detectives are seeing?
The response has been great from the.
Just makes me wonder right now, the fact that he's got his hoodie or shirt off, and he's got his shoes off. Like, what That was really weird. Obviously, you know, when I first saw this, it just kind of reminds me of that he tried to, assault, you know, essayed somebody just because of him walking out, just with his pants on, and he's got his shoes and his, uh, so odd.
Community. They've always been supportive of the sheriff's office my entire time working here.
So here's the sketches, just to look at here, that they released. I'm assuming they'll talk about how these originated here.
They're continuing to be supportive of the sheriff's office today. I think the community has told us, the people we've spoken to, exactly what they saw, the people we've spoke to. I think if there's one thing that if I could, hopefully people would understand, is that we know the suspect, and I touched on this before, was here in Harford County prior to this incident. He didn't arrive that day and leave that day. He was here beforehand. And when he was here, just like all of us in our daily lives, we interact with the people around us in businesses. We interact with people in restaurants. We reside somewhere. We have neighbors. There are people who live in this community or who were in this community at the time of the event that certainly would have interacted and seen this suspect. And those are the people that we need to come forward and tell us who this person is and where he is now.
And one thing, I'm just kind of looking through my notes, I to kind of frame my thoughts, but jumping back, and it's a DNA answer, obviously, but we get the question we put out there, obviously this person's of Hispanic, our suspect from the video is of Hispanic descent. What makes us confident enough to say that?
Through the course of the investigation, we obviously, like I said, we processed DNA and genetic material, and that, along with video evidence, allows us to conclusively say that this person has a Hispanic origin.
So one of the things we got a whole lot on our social media was related to the DNA, and it was, if you have the DNA, how do you not have the name? And people weren't able to put that together. So with that, can you kind of explain why we don't have a name just because of a DNA match, and then how confident you are or we are in the DNA match we have?
So we are highly confident that the DNA that we recovered from the crime scene points conclusively to our suspect. However, the way DNA works is it is able at this stage to connect us through the CODIS database we spoke about to another unknown crime. There is no DNA database that would allow me to be able to plug that in there and have it just give me a name. That's not how it works. The only people that are named in a CODIS database, people who have committed a qualifying crime. So if you haven't been arrested and committed one of these crimes and been to prison, then your name is not in a database. There is no massive database with everyone's DNA. That's not how it works. But what it does allow us to do is to link these two crimes, and when we do locate our suspect, which we will, it will be able to conclusively link him to the crime scene.
Right. And then again, kind of related to that, one of the questions I get, because the DNA has told us of Hispanic descent, is do we believe that the suspect in this case is in the country illegally? We know that the border is a big issue in our country right now. My answer to that is we don't know, and we don't want to rule that out, nor do we want to say that's the way it is. It's just another possibility because we said he could be laying his head anywhere from Los Angeles to here, or really anywhere in the world. So we don't know. So, do you have any thoughts on that response?
It definitely does complicate things. You're correct, sir, that he could be a U.S. citizen from California or a U.S. citizen from any other state. Obviously, there's been an influx of people from certain parts of the world here in the United States, and there's people who move through our southern border a little more freely, and that does complicate things, and it allows people to be able to move, and it makes it difficult to be able to track people through traditional means. It just adds another a layer of complication.
And again, to focus on that as being a fact when we don't know it would be wrong, and to ignore that without knowing that's not the case would be wrong. So we haven't been able to put it either way, so that's an open-ended question, I guess, if you will. The big question I get all the time is, why not a sketch? You have the video. You addressed, we have the video of him leaving because he didn't come in that door. where are we with some sort of sketch or something?
So we began the investigation and made.
Okay, so he's asking about the sketch, so maybe we'll hear, because like I said, I listened to like the first 30% of this podcast, so all of this is new to me. So we've got 10 minutes left here. So they're going to talk about the sketches. It's going to be interesting. So while I got it paused here. Oh, I like your style, Michael Cameron. His days are numbered. I hope so. With the release of this sketch, I think that's huge. We've got obviously we got video of him. They have his DNA. Who knows if they can do some kind of genetic genealogy? With that DNA. Fur Baby Love donating $4.99 super sticker. Thank you so much, Fur Baby Love. I really appreciate the support. It helps me out so much. I really appreciate you. I hope you're doing well. Make sure I've got everything caught up here. And then if you've tuned in and kind of maybe missed half of this, I'm writing down notes, just kind of like the highlights of what we learned from this podcast, because it's very interesting. It's a lot more than I was kind of anticipating. So we'll definitely recap everything at the end here.
This link, one of the first things we would do in any case is try to locate witnesses. One of those witnesses that we did locate in this case was a victim of that California assault. Sketches are absolutely a phenomenal investigative tool. However, they are one person's impression of what someone looks like. All of us view people differently, and it can change the way that sketch looks. We do have a sketch that we're planning on releasing soon. This sketch was not one person's interpretation of what our suspect looks like, but multiple people's impression. Both victims from California, witnesses here in Harford County, and then also.
Whoa! I got to write that down. That's a lot. So this is a combination of witness statements from the March incident in Los Angeles. I'm just writing this down so when I recap. My witness statement, as well as from the Bel Air incident.
The artists using the video as part of the rendering as well. So being able to put all those three, but multiple people's impression, both victims from California, witnesses here in Harford County.
So the victims of California.
And then also the artists using the video as part of the rendering as well. So being able to.
And the video. The video. Interesting. So a combination of a lot. Very interesting.
Put all those three things together. We believe that we have a sketch now that is the closest rendition we're going to be able to have, and we want the public to be able to see that as well.
And it may actually be released ahead of this podcast, depending on timing,
which it was,
depending on how it all works out.
Yes, sir.
So as far as the sketch goes, explain how important it is to try to get it as close as possible to the actual suspect, and what efforts you took to make sure it's just not another Hispanic male being sought.
So it's important to get this sketch as close as we can, because the one thing as an investigator I don't want to do, I don't want someone to look at this sketch and think, well, I'm not going to call the sheriff's office and tell them that I think I know who the suspect is because he doesn't look enough like this sketch. So we want to make sure that we make this sketch as close as we can get it to what the suspect looks like, so that we can make sure people are confident when they're calling us, and people understand what this suspect looks like. So in order to get the best quality we could, we utilized witnesses in California who were assaulted by the suspects. We used witnesses here in Harford County And then we also used one artist to combine to interview each one of these people, and then that same artist to look at our video and be able to try to put all of that together to give us the closest that we could possibly get to what the suspect looks like. And then after that, we took that sketch and we talked to other witnesses who didn't maybe see the person as well and weren't confident in making a sketch, but did see the person, and asked them, does this sketch look like the suspect that you saw? So that we were sure that we had as large a group as possible who we knew saw this person look at this sketch and say, yes, this is similar to what the person I saw looks like.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So this isn't just from one person, this is from multiple people. And then on top of that, when it was created, they took it to people that may have not been able to give a witness statement, but they did possibly see the suspect from a distance or whatever, and just to get the consensus, and they said, yes, this kind of looks like the guy. So that's amazing. That's truly amazing. It sounds kind of like I'm sure you can't do that with every crime, because every crime's going to be different. You're maybe not going to have as many witnesses. Every situation is different, but this sounds really good.
We definitely don't want to be out getting calls or interviewing a lot of folks that just because they're Hispanic. So a lot of effort was taken. And one of the things that I did hear, and I think it's important, is that we do have witnesses here in Harford County.
We do, sir. We've interviewed many witnesses here in Harford County. As I mentioned, Rachel ran the trail frequently, daily. And a lot of those people came forward and told us just when they saw Rachel. We had other people come forward and tell us that, we saw the video and that they felt like they saw someone who looked very similar to the video on the trail in the weeks leading up to Rachel's death. And the volume of people that we've spoken to who told us that they saw someone on the trail who looked similar to our suspect in the week leading up to the crime.
In a week? Oh, so it's possible, which would make sense. I doubt the guy would just go there without knowing the terrain, where he's going to escape. So very fascinating.
Makes me believe, as I said earlier, that this individual was here in our county for weeks prior to this event.
So
wow.
Those witnesses have linked this particular individual that they personally saw to that trail and around the same time that Rachel was killed.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And I do think it's important to note we are 1 year out nearly from what happened in Los Angeles and 6 months out from Rachel's homicide here. So, we are this is what that person looked like 6 months ago, a year ago.
Yes, sir.
Which was consistent between the two because we've had people from here and there both kind of say this is a more accurate rendition. So, or rendering, I guess, is more appropriate. So, again, there's been some time. So, hair grows out, or in my case, falls out. People can change their look. So, we're asking people to, when they see both the video and the images, to be mindful of this is now 6 month.
6 month anniversary. And when we release these sketches, one of the things that the public will see is there's two sketches. One of these sketches is this person, his facial features only, and the other one shows the individual wearing a hat, a red baseball style cap. That hat is something that we know from interviewing different witnesses is something that the suspect has worn in the past. Wow. So again, to your point, sir, people can change the way they appear through gaining weight, losing hair, wearing hats and sunglasses and things like that.
Yeah.
And so with all of this we've discussed so far, again, 6 months in, where do we stand today?
Today we stand that still every day we're working this investigation. We're speaking to witnesses. We're still working with allied agencies and partners federally, on the federal side and on the state side.
So there's about 4 minutes left of this interview here, and then I'll recap just for anybody that may have missed it. We got 250 people in here. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your Monday evening, morning, afternoon, depending on where you're at, to watch the show. If you haven't already, please hit that like button. It really helps get the algorithm going and get this info out there, because we need to get this sketch out there to the masses.
We're interviewing witnesses as late as this morning. We were speaking to somebody. We're using every available tool that we have to try to find this individual.
And I know, again, many years of doing this, there are cases that stick with all of us. How are your investigators doing with the personal aspect? We can't even imagine being in Rachel's family's shoes. Again, back to the children losing their mom, just the devastation to this family. Not trying to compare it in scope in any way imaginable to that, but obviously with a police officer, this kind of case sticks with you. How are your people doing with that?
I think they're motivated. I think they look at a crime like this and the tragedy that it caused and the violence that was involved both here in California and in Maryland, and they're motivated. They want to find this person, and they want to take them off the streets so that no one else is injured, and they want to bring justice to Rachel and to her family. So
pause that here for a minute. Yeah, I really like how they have the two sketches, not just the one with hair and then one with the cap on, because obviously if they just released this one, clearly if he knew he's going to be people are going to be looking for him, he's going to try to disguise his identity, and I think wearing a hat would be easy accessory to conceal his hair. And so I like the fact that they got these two sketches here, because kind of talked about that with the Delphi case where, we talked about the whole potato head kind of situation where they could have age progressed and done some different things. But I do like this, the way that they did this.
They're working hard and they're motivated every day, and I have confidence that they're going to find this individual.
And I tell you, we all pray for that outcome for sure.
And it seems like those ears are very predominant. That's the kind of thing that, next to the military hairstyle haircut that someone mentioned earlier, the eyes, and then but the ears for sure.
And again, I'll let you offer any thoughts or the major on our Harford County community. Again, we've been through some, over the last 10 years or so, been through some devastating events. This case is up there, and the things that have impacted our community. What kind of words do you think about sharing in reference to our Harford County community?
Well, I would start by saying to the community as a whole that I appreciate everything they've done so far. We've received hundreds and hundreds of tips directly from the community here. They're always willing to speak to us. We've done multiple canvases through the community, and everyone always is willing to come out and speak to us, to tell us what they saw, to try to help us. I would just ask that they continue to do that, to try to remember Rachel, remember the area that she was in, to, if anybody remembers anything moving forward that they think it's important or not. If it's a small detail, those small details can be the details that break the case open. So I'd ask them to do that, and anybody who hasn't reached out to us, who saw anything that day, who is aware of a person who was in the area then and isn't here now. If they've seen the video and they have a basic idea what this person looks like, or when they look at our sketch, do they know that person here? Is he here now? Did he leave? Did you see this person because you worked with him? Any information that they can provide would be great.
And just one thing to add is the local business community has moved mountains to help investigators and during the investigation. And not only the local business community, but the national business community, and some offerings from big companies in the surveillance world that have really stepped forward to give us a hand, which has moved us forward. And it can't go unsaid that we have more offerings coming in every single day.
We do every day, and I think everybody looks at this case and they realize how tragic and needless it was, and how devastating it was for Rachel's family. And I think our community here is a close community, and it's a safe community. And I think when people hear or see something like this, the first thing they want to do is they want to help. And we have had a tremendous amount of help from within the community, business community, from the state, and from people out of state as well, who just want to try to do the right thing and find this person before he hurts someone else.
With that, I'll just, I guess, around the room, any closing thoughts before we wrap this special edition broadcast, podcast spotlight, the Sheriff Spotlight, before we wrap up this episode?
I would just reiterate again, anybody who has seen anything or anybody who feels like they have information that could help the investigation, please reach out to the Sheriff's Office and let us know what you have.
Every bit of information that we can develop or that is provided to us is followed up on. And you never know what that tip is going to lead to. So if even the smallest bit of information, please come forward and provide detectives with an opportunity to follow up.
And I'll say both Andy and the Major have said it. I've said in many interviews, we're one good tip away from a name that lets us bring this down and get this guy off the street. My fear is that wherever he is, he's going to do something like this again, and some other family, some other community is going to.
Okay, I gotta pause it because they're playing the outro music, which don't know if it's YouTube friendly. So I'll recap a little bit real quick. I just want to send some thank yous out. So I did get some PayPals my last live, and I just want to quickly go back and say, Geneva, thank you again for the PayPal you sent a few days ago. Cindy Dumas, thank you as well for the $10 donation. And then Heather Rose, who said, thank you for your attention to details and wonderful chat mods. Thank you. That was PayPal, and make sure I felt like I'm missing where to go here. There was another one. I'll have to find it later. Sorry, I don't want to drag on. But yeah, I think Julie as well. Thank you so much for the PayPal. Let's see here. Let me make sure I didn't miss any. And then we'll just quickly recap before we head out. Sirius Black, I'm sorry, I missed yours earlier. Thank you so much for the $3 super sticker. You are so awesome. Again, Eyes on Heaven, Miss Dog Lover, Cindy Goddard, Fur Baby Love, thank you so much. And then, of course, Miranda and Sensei for renewing your memberships. Open that. And I've got something for my Patreons. Another great way to support this channel is becoming a member on my Patreon. I did something last week for the Idaho 4, and I'm going to be doing something. It's going to be either Idaho or Delphi for the Patreons coming up this week as well. So real quick, we'll just recap some of the quick things here. So yeah, a lot of little tidbits, especially involving this incident right here, because this, I mean, there was a lot of unknown stuff about this. You know, we just had this video that got released. Let me turn the music down while I play it here. I'm sorry, guys. And yeah, because there was just so much unknown about this. Other than that, this guy just had left some DNA. But yeah, apparently the reason why there's no him coming into the house is because he entered through a different area of the home. It seems like there was multiple people there, including some younger kids, some children. It seems maybe like the older people, maybe like the parents were asleep. And there was at least 2 injuries, one involving a child. Eventually, one of I think a child or an adult or teenager was able to stop this guy, and is kind of the one seen kind of slamming the door on this guy. Um, and then another big one is the sketch that was released on in this case, and let me pull it up so we can look at it again. This sketch is a combination of the witnesses from the California incident in Los Angeles that happened in March, as well as witnesses that were there near the trailhead in Bel Air that happened in August. And then once they put that together, just to even help solidify how good of accurate they felt with this sketch, is they actually took it to some other witnesses that may have not seen as much, and when they went to them with the sketch, they said yes, this looked like the person that they had seen, and he was supposedly spotted at least a week prior to Rachel Morin's homicide. So this guy was clearly seemed to be, if not stalking Rachel, was stalking a victim. So that's pretty wild. And yeah, so if anyone's wondering, this is, and I'm going to keep an eye on this, which is pretty cool. I mean, this is really awesome that you have a department, this Hartford County Sheriff's Office, that they're doing podcasts, which is really amazing. And if anybody's interested, I will, and I'll put this in my description when I finish. But I am going to go ahead, link to podcast and the site, which is right there. So hopefully that goes through. Yep, that looks like it went through. Boogie, good to see you. Why is unaliving the solution with all these people? Oh gosh, wish we had an answer for that. It's absolutely terrible. Yeah. Chris Davis, thank you so much, Chris. Thank you, as always. Glad to see you. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for chatting with us, as everybody else. And Boogie, thank you so much for the $4.99 super sticker. You are so awesome. I hope you're doing well. And thank you again for your amazing support. Black Widow, good to see you. She says, give me confidence that he will be found. I think so. Thank you so much, Cunningham. Good to see you. Take care, Chris, and everybody. Hey, Sherry. Hi, Chris. How is your neuropathy going? It is a little back and forth, but, I'm still doing my therapy and stuff. And so hopefully, I'm sure it doesn't heal itself overnight. But good and bad days, but more good than bad. Mommy of Five, thank you again. Somebody who's local out there, sharing her thoughts on what she believes happened with Rachel. But thank you, Mommy of Five, offering to, go out on the trail and film some stuff. But with that, we're going to go ahead and finish up. I'm going to be, for the mods, I am going to be trying to pick up some more lives because February is kind of a shorter month, even though it is leap year. Since this is my only source of income until, especially we start getting out there and actually looking for the missing. So I will be doing some more lives, maybe 4 to 5 times a week. So I'm probably going to plan on doing like like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe take a Thursday off, and then a Friday, Saturday, something like that. So that's going to be the plan, at least for the next couple weeks. So with that, again, thank you to the wonderful mods who make this community an amazing place, along with the chatters. You guys are amazing. So we should be back here tomorrow. May start a little bit earlier because I got another channel that goes live around this time. So we will be going live tomorrow, but it'll be a little bit earlier. Miss Siren says, so he doesn't do home invasions after California went bad. Think he went to Trail. Ooh, that is a great statement. Yeah, the things went bad with the invasion in California, and now he's sticking to the outside, the Trail, something he can control more and know what's going on. Yeah, that's a well said. Thank you, Mist. Couldn't agree more. Dameen, thank you for coming on, and I appreciate the chat. I hope you're doing well. Casey, good to see you. It's been a while. I know I missed a live. We'll be back on tomorrow, a little bit earlier. But yeah, very interesting. If you missed out, definitely interesting. Some updates regarding this case. So, with that, we will go ahead and play our outro, and we will be back on tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe there'll be some new updates. Not sure, but we'll keep an eye out for them. All right. Love you guys. Have a wonderful afternoon, evening, or morning, depending on where you're at. And we'll see you tomorrow.